Let's continue the discussion. Then you can see Canny Maphanga has been listening into that. As we take this moment in, Canny, because no matter how you dice it, what is taking place today is a reckoning with history and the difficult parts of where we come from. As a start, let's place Chief Albert Luthuli in that history. I mean, why would, for example, the apartheid government even have an eye on someone like that?
When we speak of Chief Albert Luthuli, we're talking about a key prominent figure, a key anti-apartheid activist that fought for the equality of all South Africans. We're also speaking about someone who was quite prominent in the ANC and its structures as well. So a figure of this nature during those difficult times that was the apartheid regime would be a key figure that regime would have a lens on, because remember, the belief at the time was that if you were able to suppress key figures in the struggle, you were able to suppress that resistance against the apartheid regime. So this was a critical figure that at the time, if there was a death or death that happened, which we know did, that you would approach that particular death with caution, because we know that a lot of those apartheid figures that lost their lives during the struggle, the circumstances were suspicious. And decades later, as we approach this path to justice, which started in 1994 when they tried to bring healing to all these different families, it's key to justice to get the truth behind what really happened to these figures. And Chief Albert Luthuli is not exempt from this key project in the constitutional democratic order.
Yeah, and there was an investigation that found no criminal liability, but obviously there were a lot of questions around just the probe itself and the purported circumstances surrounding his death.
Well, the previous inquest would have been conducted during the apartheid regime. I think it was September of 1967, where they found that there was no criminal liability. Now, of course, a finding like that is expected under the circumstances upon which that inquest would have taken place. But we know that decades later, we've seen several inquests take place where you try to establish the facts behind the cause of death. And we know that with those particular deaths that took place in apartheid against those key figures, or even ordinary figures that fought against the struggle, the circumstances are suspicious and need further inquiries in order to establish the truth and bring some type of closure and healing to those particular families.
Yeah, an enormous amount of time has passed since the deaths themselves took place. And, the question I was asking earlier on is, I wonder what accountability in that world looks like, when the, purported perpetrators perhaps may have passed. There's been so much distance for the family. Some of Albert Luthuli's close family members perhaps are no longer around. Help us place, I suppose, all of those ideas as we watch this day unfold.
Well, the key part about this, we're not talking about something that happened over 100 years ago. A lot of these deaths took place just a few decades ago. So there is some answers one could draw. But remember, an inquest is not a criminal trial. You don't have accused there. You don't have the state and the defense. It's about establishing the facts surrounding particular events. How did something take place? And it is only once this fact-finding inquiry is complete and recommendations are made, that's when you can find out from the NPA further what the process of accountability is going to be. But really, this is about the truth being the foundation of justice being dispensed to those particular families. We know that in the South African context, inquests are something that you use across the globe to figure out the facts behind a cause of death. But in this particular context, it really is about the path to justice for those particular families, because it takes place in a context where there was a world of hurt unleashed on those families. And we know that key figures that sacrificed their lives for the struggle, a lot of them disappeared without a trace. Some of them died under suspicious circumstances. And we know that decades later, families don't have those answers. So it's critical to bringing the truth forward regarding the events behind Chief Albert Luthuli's passing, not only for his family, but for truth and justice, and I guess to vindicate the history of South Africa.
I imagine a lot of the questions in the minds of people watching is what kind of new information the NPA might have come across over their own investigations.
As well as what witnesses would have been able to assist in finding those particular facts. It's not inconceivable to suggest that the official reports at the time, which stated that he had been struck by a goods train near Stanger in KwaZulu-Natal could not possibly be what the family understood to be the events. It's not inconceivable to see the family stating that they have further questions regarding their loved one, who was a prominent figure who would have had that lens of scrutiny on him by the apartheid regime to establish those facts regarding what would have happened during that tragic event of what the official report states is him being hit by, or struck rather, by a goods train. But of course, this inquest will hopefully bring more answers to the family, and of course bring justice to those particular families, and then continue this path that we're seeing of various families getting that closure, that much needed closure that they need from a lot of the loss that took place during the apartheid regime.
Yeah, I started off by mentioning that it feels like we at a moment of reckoning with our history,
yes,
right? And I think it'd be remiss not to speak about the ANC's own legacy in all of this. It comes as no surprise that senior members of the party want to be there in person to see how things unfold.
Well, it's a critical part of South Africa's history, which we know the ANC has played a prominent role in. At the time, it was the most prominent liberation movement for South Africa in reaching the kind of democracy, the constitutional democracy that we enjoy today. Chief Albert Luthuli was a prominent figure in the ANC himself. I think at the time they called it the President General. I stand to be corrected.
That is the term that's been used.
Yes, so that is someone that belongs to the ANC as well. Its legacy, its history, its culture, its heritage. So it is a key restorative justice approach for his comrades as well in the ANC, not only his family members as well. So it's no surprise that the ANC is showing up to that particular hearing to get those facts behind that passing. We know that the struggle was not easy for those who were part of that fight. And of course, not only the family members will need that answer, but of course his fellow comrades that would have fought alongside him during that difficult period to get the answers that they so long for regarding the passing of Chief Albert Luthuli.
Absolutely, and hopefully those answers are forthcoming. Canny Maphanga, for now, thanks very much indeed. Canny, of course, is our senior reporter, part of the SABC News team, watching the story from as many angles as you can imagine. And of course, once again, proceedings, at least for today's leg of that inquest, set to begin at 10 o'clock.